Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the 2024 Tewksbury Candidates Forum, sponsored by the Tewksbury Carnation and the Tewksbury Town Crier. My name is Robert Hayes, and I'm here tonight in my capacity as the editor of the Wilmington Apple. Tewksbury's annual town election is Saturday, April 6th. Polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Senior Center, Town Hall, Rec Center, and Library. This forum is being broadcast live on Tewksbury Telemedia, Comcast Channel 6, and Verizon Channel 33, as well as streamed on Tewksbury TV's YouTube channel and is also being recorded. A big thank you to Brian Dorrington and Jason Marshall of Tewksbury Telemedia. Tonight we have 5 candidates for 3 seats on the Board of Health. Bear with me. Okay. So candidate Chris Janachik will appear on the ballot, running for a 2-year seat to fill an unexpired term. Candidate George Ferdinand will appear on the ballot, running for a 3-year seat. And then we have overall 4 declared write-in candidates who I presume are all seeking the second open 3-year seat. And they are, in alphabetical order, Phoebe Torres Cunha, who could not be here tonight, Pamela Lefebvre, Luke Miller, and Donna Robitaille. According to Town Clerk Denise Graffio, who I communicated with earlier today, this is the most declared write-in candidates for a race in modern Tewksbury politics, okay? Yes, sir. So this forum is an opportunity to hear from the candidates on topics of interest, and questions have been sourced from community members. If you don't hear a question that is important to you tonight, we encourage you to reach out to the candidates directly, as they will be representing you on the Board of Health. And with that, let's get started. Let me find my questions. All right, so first up is opening statements. And as I mentioned before we went on the air, if you could also include your reason for running, that would be greatly appreciated. So we have 2 minutes for opening statements, and first up is Luke Miller.
Thank you, Robert. Good evening. My name is Luke Miller. I want to thank Robert Hayes, Tewksbury Town Crier, Tewksbury Carnation for sponsoring this event, and Tewksbury Telemedia for making this available to residents at home. Events like this help support local democracy. I'm a lifelong resident of Tewksbury. I graduated from TMHS, and then I graduated from the University of Maine with majors in quantitative economics and history. Professionally, I work in risk management as an account manager for a local insurance agency. While I am young, I have a diversity of experience, having worked in the restaurant industry as a camp counselor and in the parks division of a local DPW. That's why I care about things like worker safety, public health, and recreation and wellness opportunities for all ages, from students to seniors. I decided to run as a write-in candidate for the full 3-year term because I wanted to stand up for safety and well-being for all of our residents. The Board of Health is not the most prominent board in town, but it is vital to protect us all from everything from foodborne illnesses to animal-spread diseases. With 2 seats open and only 1 candidate on the ballot, I felt that our town deserved a choice on who can represent them and who can advocate for their needs and concerns. I hope to be that choice. While I care about many issues affecting our community, those I care most about include mental health, homelessness, substance use, and supporting local businesses grow while remaining within compliance and health and safety standards. Every week, I go to work and someone tells me in my office that they had a great time at one of our local restaurants. We are a hub for good food and happy memories, and that needs to be supported and encouraged. With my education in economics, I look toward data and analytics to inform my decision-making. Resident health and safety will be a top priority in every vote I take. If voted onto the board, I promise to be accessible, accountable, and responsible. I'm looking forward to tonight's discussion, and I'm grateful to be here. I humbly ask our residents for their vote on April 6th. Thank you.
So thank you, Luke. Next up is Pamela, and you have 2 minutes.
And of course, thank you to the Carnation and Town Crier, as well as Tewksbury Telemedia. Although it says Pamela, that is my given name, but I do go by Pam. I'm a candidate for one of the 3-year spots for the Board of Health as a write-in candidate. We moved here in 1975 from Wakefield, Massachusetts, but I grew up outside of DC in Virginia and attended George Washington University, where I studied psychology and majored in English. In all of my positions, I have interacted with the public, and a primary focus of my most recent position was working with youth and adults, often to bring parties to a place of agreement so that our program could move forward in a way that benefited the entire community. Time, energy, and excellent communication skills to help foster greater interconnectedness between working boards is what I believe I can bring to the position in the Board of Health. I believe communication within the board with town residents as well as board to board needs to be a primary focus, and therefore I plan to at least sit on the COA and other committees and boards so that I can be in a position to foster that better communication, educate myself regarding concerns that these groups may have, and help address them in any way the Board of Health may be able. I will also work to provide platforms where residents may express concerns they have. I was excited to see that the Public Health Education Grant was approved and will closely follow how that benefits the town. Within the Board of Health itself, there are subcommittees and working groups with open needs, and having the time, I plan to serve on those. Some issues that I believe need attention are education and a better understanding and access to care of mental health concerns, education around the recreational use of marijuana and vaping, and concerns some neighborhoods have about hoarding and dumping, as well as water quality when that is not an infrastructure concern.
Great, thank you so much, Pam. And next up is Chris, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, I am Chris Janacek. I have lived in Tewksbury since 1998. I was born and raised in Lawrence, Massachusetts, the daughter of immigrant parents. I have been in town. I'm also the proud mother of 2 boys, ages 23 and 18. I decided to run for the 2-year seat for the Board of Health because I feel that the time has come for some change. I am willing to work with the residents in town. I'm open to all kinds of ideas. You know, a concern of mine is obviously the air quality, the water quality, and I feel that we as a town need to come together. I've seen things change during the pandemic. I've seen people, you know, they've come together, they've had discussions. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the main goal is a community, which is what we are. I would hate to lose, and some people may disagree with me, but that we've already lost it, but I'd like to think of us as a small town community, borderline family. So I'm, you know, invested. I definitely want all the departments and all of the boards to work together. It shouldn't be an us against them mentality. So I am in, you know, full support of working with other people on the board, other departments, other programs, focus on the unhoused, the veterans. You know, myself have never served, but I have the utmost respect for the veterans, and I feel that they are forgotten and put by the wayside. So I look forward to serving the townspeople, and I will do my best to be available to you as much as I can. I do work full-time, but I know what I'm doing, so I look forward to the election. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Chris. So next up is George, and George, you have 2 minutes.
Excuse me.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the town officials for using our facility that we could have this debate questions. The Tewksbury Carnation, Tewksbury Telemedia, and the Tewksbury Town Crier, Robin and Rosalind, for asking their questions and being involved to the best of their ability to serve the public. And those in attendance and those watching from either YouTube or by cable channel. George Ferdinand. What I wanted to tonight, just take a minute to talk a little bit about me personally, because over a period of time, I've always said I have a little bit of rough edges on me, but My father was 2 terms in the military in Korea, and he served one of them. He was a drill instructor, so I think you kind of figure out how that would direct my life a little bit. And also, he was, and this is a strange thing, he went back in after 3 years, and he went in the last year that you had to go through basic training again. He ended up being an air traffic controller. My mother didn't have a career until later on in life, and she retired from Liberty Mutual. With the last 30 seconds, I just wanted to mention that obviously I am a candidate that has a record. I hope folks have looked at it from 2016 to 2019. I've probably deviated from the other members on probably 7 or 8 occasions. It's important to have unanimity in such a board as this and the power that it has. And in my closing statement, I'm going to bring out something, how powerful the Board of Health is. So you have to take the job serious and work together. Thank you.
All right, thank you, George. And finally, Donna, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. And I also thank everybody that came tonight, and especially those that put this on for making us feel comfortable before we began and now. But I am nervous. I decided to run for the Board of Health because I saw that the nomination papers weren't, that a resident that was interested did not return nomination papers. I knew I would enjoy serving in town government. I do have experience serving on the Conservation Commission for 4 years. I also served on the Zoning Board of Appeals for 3 years. And this goes back in time when I was young and raising my children. I do have adult children now. They are 43 and 37. I'm retired, so I can put the time in and balance. But I also do agree that people that work and have a lot to offer, I admire everybody sitting up here and all the town officials. And I agree with George that this building is beautiful, and we're grateful to use it and have it in town. I just really think Tewksbury has come a long way, and I know that as a Board of Health member, I would have a lot to learn, but I would be comfortable learning the job and doing it. I feel strongly also about the opiate crisis, which I know that I'm sure we all feel the same way, and that the former board members, I would love to build on the foundation that they have in those areas, and then any other calls to action, if I did get the chance to have the job, work with other members to do that, old things and new things. And I believe it would be necessary to be loud to Washington, because we're lucky to live in a Commonwealth that does get federal funding, of course, grants for everything that are important, especially with challenging times coming, but mostly because a lot of these actions have grants. But the federal money that deserves to come to our community from, I'm not sure if it was Purdue Farmer or what it was actually called in the end, but every dollar, of course, I expect as a community member, but like I said, we're lucky to live in a Commonwealth that gets it to us, in our town that expects it.
All right, well, thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
So first question is going to go to Pam, and there'll be 90-second responses. So question 1, in your own words, what are the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Health?
That's tough, because I have studied carefully, and I know that, getting information out to the public is critical. I have not been able to discern precisely how that happens, and I wonder sometimes if it does. I don't want to go off topic on the question, however. I know that, there are certain ways that they need to interact with our restaurants in town, especially helping them keep in compliance with regulations. I'm familiar with ServSafe. I have my own ServSafe. My husband has been in the restaurant business for 50 years, so, I've understood how that works in terms of food safety concerns and so on. I'm very open to educating myself, and I think I have tried to as best I can. I don't know some of the things that I envision doing, and I believe the board has tried to do, may require a budget, and I know we don't have that. So exactly, we don't really have the funding, so it's more a person-to-person kind of thing. That's
Great.
as much as I can, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pam. So next up is Chris, and you have 90 seconds.
Okay. Same question?
Yeah, well, same
Okay.
question, I'm sorry, yes.
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. In your own words, what are the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Health, the board that you all seek to serve?
I believe it is to, work with the community, find out what the problems are in the community, do what we can as a board unanimously to, come together to some sort of a conclusion, solution. Again, going back to what I was saying before, we need to be together. We shouldn't be separated, No one's better than anybody else on this board. I think we all have various backgrounds, and we may have some good ideas that people may not have thought of. Like my background has been in a customer service background. I'm currently manager, so I have different ideas on how to do different things to go along with the restaurants. I frequent restaurants here in town. I go to certain ones because I like them. I know what they're like and I know the quality, so I would want to help tell other people what the restaurants are like and, working with other, like I said, boards, just to see we can all come together for something.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So same question to you, George, and you have 90 seconds.
Great question, Robert. I don't know, I definitely don't want to come across as if I know everything, but one thing I did do in my life is I was a teacher for about 12 years, and I really enjoyed that in my life. And this question it comes down to really what this is about. It's a regulatory board. So we regulate, the department and the board regulates, I think it's currently 17 things on the regulations we have. Everything from tattooing to restaurant service, food service, and so many others. But other than that, though, there's a lot of things that each one of us, before we went in, like mental health, drug abuse, medication, suicide, I think all of us, from when I look at everybody else's answers to some of the questions, is they are really concerned about those issues, and there is a place for that. The thing is, you got to get directed by the chair and the department working together. And for instance, the nonprofit Tewksbury Cares is I think the best way to go through it. So hopefully, if elected, I can help choose, or we can we'll choose together who maybe have the interest and the experience and stuff to go there.
Great. All right, thank you so much, George. So next up is Donna, same question, 90 seconds.
Thank you. So I have my work experience throughout my life was in the food and beverage industry. So I know that regulations have changed. They got strict, and I'm grateful for that. I do expect the same thing that others have talked about, restaurants. I know there is a director, and I'm not sure where the responsibilities would be, if it would be the director or the members, but I would always support the director if that was the hands-on part of the job. Temperature, the things, the list of regulations. And then again, coming from a state that is regulated, and the communities in our town taking things so serious, and when there is a problem, the Board of Health has solutions, because that's when they're before the board, and then I would have to expect myself to do that job and help be part of that solution, hopefully, so that we could remain a town that we had all good restaurants.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Donna. And Luke, same question to you, roles and responsibilities of the Board of Health. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So overall, boards of health in Massachusetts are responsible for supporting and enforcing codes that pertain to the environment, individual health, illnesses, and housing. For any residents who are interested in learning more about this, I suggest you look up the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards. They have a really nice 14-page document that explains what health boards do. And the day-to-day looks different than that, though. There is a lot of record keeping, like a lot of our boards have to do, to make sure we can keep it in compliance with the state. and support our local health department in making sure that they get what they need done as well. That's it.
Great. Thanks so much, Luke. So this next question is going to go to Chris first, but I'm going to be a little long-winded, Chris, so bear with me, okay? So question 2, when Board of Health Chair Ray Berry and member Robert Scarano step down from the Board of Health next month, they will take with them 23 years of institutional knowledge. Mr. Scarano served for 12 years, Mr. Berry served for 11 years. You'll join the board with 2 or 3 first-time new members, plus 2 members currently serving in their first terms, with just a combined 3 years of experience. So if elected, you'll be jumping right into the deep end, and you'll have your first meeting within a few weeks of being sworn in. So the question is, how will you educate yourself on the issues and quickly become a contributing member to the Board of Health? And for those who do not work in a health-related industry, do you have any transferable skills or professional experience in other fields that you feel have prepared you for this role? So Chris, you have 90 seconds.
Oh, my. Let's see. To start off with the first part, I would probably want to reach out to them to see if there's any outstanding issues that they maybe not have finished, any tips and tricks, because I am completely green on this, and you know what, I'm willing to learn. So I'm curious as to, what things might be going on. As far as experience, I have been with the same agency for 23 years now. I have started at the bottom. I'm now currently a manager, so I feel that I have very good interpersonal skills. I have very good people skills. I have very good, pretty good judge of character, if I do say so myself. And I'm confident that I have the necessary tools to be a asset to the board.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris. So George, you're up next. Same question, 90 seconds.
Thanks, Robert. In fact, add Charlie Rue to that, and you're looking at, in the last 2 years, we've lost over 32. Robert, awesome coming up with his documents to try to have compliance for those that come before the board. Ray had what I call the temperance to be the chair, the IT knowledge to try to condense things like the regulations and with the state, and also his wife was, I believe, a nurse. So that helped him in Charlie. What was great, what I really enjoyed about him is he was one of the, what I call bad cops like myself, who didn't mind expecting, as folks would come to the board, they expect with dignity and respect. We also would respect the same thing to try to comply and work together for the benefit of the business. And he knew a lot about building and everything, so things like grease traps and everything like that really, really helped. Obviously, you can help. I like change. If you look at my 10 years, I've always said it. But 3 new members in 4 to 6 years, I would recommend vote for George Ferdinand for 4 more, and I'll just give you an example. There's so many other issues that we can talk about tonight. I moved here in 2014. Within the first 6 months, I sat down with Steve Sadwick. I said, Steve, where's the master plan? There's only one in 2003. He said, we're going through it right now. I said, have you got a consultant to do the zoning board? Right after that, right?
So George, we're going to wrap up. Okay. We'll circle back. Plenty of time to talk later. Okay. But thank you for that.
Thank you.
So next up, 90 seconds, Donna. And Donna, let me just quickly repeat. How will you educate yourself on the issues and become a contributing member quickly? And do you have any transferable skills or professional experience in other fields that will help you in the role? 90
Okay.
seconds.
Thank you. So as I said, I did work in the food and beverage industry, and I do know this board is strict. That is something you learn when you work in that area. I also did other things in my life that I had not experience that would bring to this board, but I was in dance and theater, and I was busy. But mostly, I think, to this board, I'd be comfortable being a town official because of my experience doing it, even though it was from a long time ago. 4 years on the Conservation Commission, we worked closely with the Board of Health, with other town officials, state and local, and the federal, having to do with water and quality. not just the river, the River Act would be conservation, but a lot of things do come over. So I would have to learn, but if there was anything that came before us or that I would have to learn, I would be comfortable doing it. I know that I don't know now, but I would be comfortable. It would be an honor to serve, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Donna. So next up is Luke, same question, 90 seconds.
Thank you. So I think the best way to educate yourself is discussing the success and previous work of former board members. I actually went to the last Board of Health meeting, which was Ray and Rob's last meeting. They both said publicly to all candidates available that they'd be happy to reach out and give support. So I think that's important that we all know that. In terms of getting to work, I think it's important to be able to do this, hit the ground running and getting to work right away. With only meeting between 10 and 12 times a year, the Board of Health needs to be proactive and work right away. In terms of my personal working knowledge, I did a number of research opportunities when I was at university that involved either the homeless population or people that suffer from addiction. And I think that that helps pertain to the Board of Health in a great deal of ways. I also currently work in the insurance industry, which, as we know, a lot of small businesses have to deal with that, especially with workers' comp and risk when they have bad responses with compliance. So I hope that that will help add to my ability to help the board. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Luke. And last but not least, wrapping us up is Pam. Pam, same question, 90 seconds.
As I mentioned before, I am retired, and I have already reached out to board members and spoken with some of them, begun to build a relationship with one of them. And I believe that because I have the time, the critical need is really to help build relationships, not as I educate myself, so that we can move forward as a cohesive group.
All right, thank you so much, Pam. So our next question, question 3, is going to go to Chris. No, I fooled you, Chris. Going to go to George first. And George, I'm going to be long-winded once again. This will be the last time in this debate I'm long-winded, so bear with me. Question 3. The Tewksbury Board of Health has met just 9 times over the past 12 months for a total meeting time of approximately 6.5 hours. So that's 6.5 hours worth of board meetings in 1 year. To put that in perspective, some school committee members, one who I think is in the audience, spent more than 6.5 hours in meetings just last week. So in preparation for this forum, I watched almost all of the 6.5 hours of these Board of Health meetings, and it was a fascinating way to spend a Sunday, okay? One exchange from 3 meetings ago stands out to me. It was between members Susan Amato and outgoing chair Ray Berry. So board member Amato said, "I feel like it's months and months and months before we do things. I like the idea of possibly having 2 meetings a month. I just don't feel like once a month, in my opinion, allows us to do enough. There's just so much we can do, and I don't want to wait anymore." And Chair Berry responded, "It's actually a good sign when we cancel meetings. If there aren't issues that warrant people coming before the board and discussion at the board level, that's a good thing because it means things aren't at a critical level. Historically, we've been more of a reactive board for that reason. The board," this is me now talking, "the board, some may say, is having a bit of an identity crisis between whether or not to act reactively and focus just on its narrow regulatory responsibilities, or if it should be more proactive and seek to address community health issues and issues of well-being." So here's the question. If you think the board should be more proactive, what are 3 goals you would like the Board of Health to strive to accomplish in your term over the next 3 years?
Awesome, thank you. I want to say last year I ran, a big reason why I ran last year is it needed to become proactive. But when you're on a board and 5 people work together and you vote for who the chair is, let me just tell you, elections matter. who you vote for not only is going to be the next people, but we're going to be the two people, whoever the people choose, going to be two to vote for who the next chair is, who's going to sit with the department head every time and get an agenda. But I will guarantee, let me ask you this. Have you looked at the meetings from 2016 to 2019? They went on for 2 or 3 hours at a time. I can promise you one thing. If I'm elected, the agenda may go like this, the time is going to go like this. It's going to. But we need to be proactive, totally, totally. One of the things, I've already looked into it, is the water testing levels. I've already sought the legal counsel to the town manager. And he's already mentioned to me, and again, I would prefer to talk to the chair if I was elected, but I can tell you what they said. We can either request the engineer to come to a meeting and tell us what those are, or request documentation that can be read by the department head or the chair. That's one. Another one I'm looking to see is, man, let me see right off the top of my head.
So, George, we are at time, unfortunately.
I'll leave that at that.
So you leave us in suspense.
No, I have my 6 or 7 things I'm looking.
That's okay, no worries. I have trouble with time management myself, so no worries. So next up is Donna. Donna, 90 seconds. And the question is 3 goals that you'd like to see accomplished over the next 3 years.
That question. Okay, so this is something different.
Yeah, answer my questions, not George's questions.
Oh,
Yeah,
your question is the same one you asked John?
It is, believe it or not. So basically,
Okay.
do you think the board should be proactive? And if you do, what are 3 goals that you wish to accomplish over your first 3 years in office?
Okay, thank you for your
I kind of tricked you, I'm sorry.
Thank you for your patience.
Okay, my
So,
fault.
as far as that balance between the board members feeling differently, I do agree with the chair that that's a good sign, because the Board of Health does have enforcement that they need to do, and when there's a lack of that, that's a good sign. But at the same time, I think that balance is important about the cause of action, that both from the past that they want to bring back, you know, that foundation that's been there, or new ideas, and again, money. And how do you work on those things? I mean, speaking for myself, I'm not good with technology, so it would help me if there was more than 1 meeting a month. But I can't speak for other people. Like, that would be my biggest reason, communication with other board members and for what we want to accomplish. But I do agree strongly with the chairman that that's a good sign.
All right, so thanks, Donna. So Luke, you're next, 90 seconds. Should the board be more proactive, and what would 3 of your goals be in your first term?
Thank you. I think the board should be proactive. I think for a while, we've been pretty stagnant. I think the previous chairman's comments really highlight that. While I think we should be proactive, we can't forget that being reactive to issues that come up and that the board is responsible for can't be ignored at the benefit of being proactive and looking toward the future. 3 issues that I care deeply about and that I'd like to see us do more as a board in town is be communicative, not only as available to the residents, but also between boards themselves. I'd like to see more increased support, both vocally and financially, for the Department of Health and the Police Behavioral Unit. I think those are important, and they help really impacted communities in our community. And finally, excuse me, I think we just need to be more, thank you, Rosalind. We need to work more. We need to be more available, and I think that 2 meetings a month isn't a hard thing to give up to be able to accomplish more work for the town. Thank you.
Great. All right, well, thank you so much, Luke. Pam, you're next, 90 seconds, same
I hate to ask you
question.
to do this again, but could you just read that end of that question?
Yeah, absolutely. This will get better as I go on here. The question was, do you think the board should be more proactive? And what are 3 goals you would like the Board of Health to strive to accomplish in your first term over the next 3 years?
Okay, yes, I do think they should be more proactive. I think the first thing that needed to be done, though, is that just discuss with other board members what areas have not been handled previously, because that would be the first place we'd need to land. Additionally, I think if there are not contingencies currently for some issues that could be perceived, such as health issues within the town, any health issues within the town, then we need to start looking at that and making some contingency plans. We need to spend the time it takes, and in speaking with all the current board members and any new board members, it could be decided, does that mean we spend more time at each meeting, or does it mean we have more meetings in a month? It needs to be, a consensus there, because all board members would need to be involved.
Great. Thank you so much, Pam. And Chris, you're going to wrap us up. 90 seconds, same question.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we should all be proactive, and to go along with the meetings. I'm used to meetings, like all the time. So sometimes you can resolve the issue in an hour or less than an hour, but sometimes if there's a pressing matter, then it takes longer. I could go, maybe once a month meetings, twice a month meetings. I'm pretty flexible. But the three things that I want to focus on is to go along with what Pam said, is to, if there's anything like hanging, to resolve that. Because obviously if things are in order, you want to get things resolved. To definitely work together, and, I want to focus on, the unhoused. I want to focus on the veterans and just working together with all the boards.
Great. All right, wonderful. So our next question is going to go to Donna, question number 4. So Donna, in preparation for this debate, I reached out to Susan Amato and Melissa Braga, who are the 2 Board of Health members that you would be fortunate enough to serve with if you were elected. They were very generous with their time. I asked them about their goals. They said their 4 goals, or their 4 of their major goals, were community health education, food safety and nutrition, environmental health, and community engagement. So we're going to quickly touch on all those goals. So community health education. When we solicited questions from the readers of the Carnation and the Crier, the number 1 area of interest was by far substance abuse, whether it was youth vaping or concerns around recreational marijuana, or someone that mentioned fentanyl, someone talked about substance abuse as it relates to mental health. So I'm going to ask you a community health education question as it relates to substance abuse. Here's the question. The town has received, or is in the process of receiving, an estimated $530,000 from a class action national opioid settlement from pharmaceutical manufacturers and pharmacies. The town established a stabilization fund for this money at the most recent annual town meeting. The money must be spent on resources related to fighting the opioid crisis in Tewksbury. How should this money be spent? And you have 90 seconds, Donna.
Thank you. I am proud that the town is receiving that. They need the help. I think the money should be spent through the efforts that are already in place through I'm not really sure who handles, I know greatly the Tewksbury Police. I will go back to, I think it's 2009 or 10, it was the police that did the first vigil for the opiate crisis. And I know that everyone feels the same way, every department. I would support every effort of every department, whoever was able to get those funds given to them to help the professionals that are working, on that crisis, specifically fentanyl is the fight, and we have to just keep fighting. And of course, prevention. I'm not sure if that money is supposed to be spent certain ways, but prevention would be a big part of it. So, the fight is the fight, and we all know someone personally that has tried to fight this, either personally or as town officials. I'm so proud of Tewksbury. I personally know a warrior parent, someone from Tewksbury that went to Washington with the If Only, I didn't know I was going to say this tonight, but the If Only movie that was filmed here. It was, I don't know if it's okay to say, but a Tewksbury family paid for that production. They never take credit for it. And that was hand-delivered to the DEA in Washington by a lot of parents from throughout the Commonwealth, and then every other fight and I don't know what made me bring that up, but I think that's part of the fight to get that money. Thank you.
Yeah, great, thank you, Donna. So Luke, same question, 90 seconds.
So the 2 greatest things that impact individuals who are suffering with drug addiction is availability of Narcan and availability of clean needles. Both of those can be increased the availability and the training given to our first responders. I think that should be the number one priority. With my time volunteering with Needle Point Sanctuary in the greater Bangor area, I personally am Narcan trained. I carry Narcan. I know that a number of federal officials, I believe in some states, I don't know if it's here, I think so though, that male men also carry Narcan. And so maybe looking into more availability to just have more of those available for individuals where that can help and make a difference. Clean needles and Narcan save lives.
All right, thank you, Luke. So next up is Pam. Pam, same question. You have 90 seconds.
So I think a critical need is to educate the public regarding what sorts of things you might see in one who could be encouraged or, trapped in that whole idea of getting into drugs. I think it is also important to educate how people can first respond to reach out to individuals who may be in a bad spiraling situation before they are addicted to drugs. I think any preventive measures that can be taken, and better we educate the public about it, especially parents as they look at their children, is critical to look to in the education area. And I agree with Luke that police need to have the tools necessary when there is an addiction problem, not only in the area of Narcan and those kinds of physical tools, but also to be able to, interact with families in an appropriate and helpful way.
Great, thank you, Pam. So next up is Chris. Chris, same question, 90 seconds.
Thank you. Definitely education, I definitely agree with that. People think, I feel that they have certain biases about people that have issues with drugs. There could be a number of reasons. It's not just because they, decided, oh, you know what, I'm just going to become a drug addict. But I feel that more education to everyone to learn how to deal with something, something like that. Availability of Narcan, definitely. I personally would like to know how to use it. Thankfully, I don't have anyone around me or know anyone, but what if I'm someplace and something happens? I want to help the person, so it's all about, being more aware and having more information out to people. They shouldn't think of it as, oh, well, that's not my problem. Eventually it's going to be everybody's problem in one way, shape, or form. It may not be directly, it could be indirectly, and you could end up saving someone's life. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So last but not least, George, 90 seconds. And the question is, how should the town spend the $530,000 to combat the opioid issue?
Another great question, Robert, I have to say.
Okay.
I was talking to the town manager. I go see him about once every 6 months with a list of 10 things. And about 8 years ago, when the AG, who our current governor is, and she sued the 5 pharmaceutical companies, and they got the money after that. $540,000, not a lot of money, but at the same time, not so much. If there's any group of people other than those that are in dire straits and destroyed their families or their bodies because of the drugs, the folks I think about during COVID especially is the police, is the first responders. So I'd like to see them get some, for the hours that they spent doing that, get some of that $540,000. After that, I'd love to see, and I've stated before, like 2 or 3 out of the candidates, is apply for every grant. I've asked every time I've seen the town manager to get a full-time grant runner. Now, the police, the school committee, and the fire department have their own. But if you're in another department, like I'm at the senior center, there's 8 people doing 30 people's jobs. We can get a full-time grant writer for that. And the last part of it, education programs with the police, school committee, probably the last part of the finances I'd like to see. Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you, George. Next question is going to go to Luke, and it deals with environmental health, which was one of Susan Amato's and Melissa Braga's 4 overarching goals. So we received a couple of questions from readers about banning certain items, such as plastic straws or plastic bottles or styrofoam or certain pesticides. So rather than take the time to ask you about every specific item, I'm going to ask it this way. Similar to how the town banned plastic bags back in 2019, are there any products you would like to see banned in town in order to protect the environment and promote public health? And so Luke, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Well, first I'd like to start by saying I live on Shawsheen Street. Everyone drives on Shawsheen Street. I'm sure we all know that Shawsheen Street is named for the Shawsheen River. Whenever I'm walking down the street, there are no plastic bags in the Shawsheen River. When I was in high school, when we were having plastic bags, it was a dime a dozen where you can see them. So bans are effective and do work. I have family and friends who live in towns that have banned things like plastic water bottles or plastic coffee cups. And it doesn't impact the day-to-day life. Yes, it changes a little bit. We all have to remember now to bring our grocery bags to the grocery store. We will all remember to bring our water bottle to town meeting. So I don't think it makes a huge impact. I do think before we decide on each individual thing that gets banned, it needs full health, carbon emissions, and economic numbers to be able to make that decision. And I think it requires the voice of the town, whether that be through public hearings or through votes at town meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Luke. So next up is Pam. Pam, 90 seconds, same question.
Very short. I don't know that I think banning any particular one thing is necessary. It probably is a very wise idea to look into some of the weed control products that are used. However, I would like thinking to be directed more toward the ways that the Board of Health might be able to impact some of the concerns that I've had expressed to me about neighborhoods where there's dumping and hoarding, because those technically can't be addressed unless there's a real serious health concern. But how long do we allow that to happen before there is a health concern?
Sure. All right, thank you, Pam. So next up is Chris. Chris, same question, and 90 seconds.
Thank you. I really can't think of anything that should be banned. You know, when they did the whole plastic bag thing, I had a hard time, not gonna lie. But I have my reusable bags. Every now and then, if I forget the reusable bags, I have the paper bag, which I can find something else to use them. So I really can't think of anything that should be banned per se. You know, I think that the town's pretty good about it, you know. That's it.
Thank you. So George, same question, 90 seconds.
I don't know, I mean, if I was God or something, I'd like to ban all plastic, but because, I mean, if you see the studies, the water bottle, you're drinking plastic. But honestly, I'd like to see, I mean, a graduated thing, I'd like to see the water bottle bill. I'd like to see it at the state level to start something. Next, though, and I'd like to do this, obviously seek legal counsel if I was elected with the chair and the director, is that we send a statement to both our delegation in Washington and to the president that we need somebody to step up, sit down with China, India, and Russia, and come up with some better goals. Because if the United States continues to hit all these goals for climate change, and Russia or China doesn't do it 2 or 3 years, I mean, just honestly, check the weather. You don't have to, George Ferdinand's not it. You know, I'm not a weatherman. But just see it. We're getting affected by over there. Plastic in the oceans, horrendous. I mean, I think we should, as a board, we should go in that direction. Have some guts and send something to the government, to the way up there.
All right, thank you, George. And last but not least, 90 seconds, same question. Go ahead, Donna.
Thank you. Well, I have to agree with George on that because one of my hobbies is to collect sea glass. So I'm often on the rocky coast of Boston to Maine, and we pick up the plastic because we feel guilty that if we don't, we should be. Obviously, it's not like when we were little, but the cause of all this litter is from when, maybe before some of you were born, but from when I was little and before that. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing on a bigger level. But as far as what Luke said, I also live on Shawshene, and I'm on the river, and Tewksbury is the Shawshene River, and all our brooks and everything. It's so important, and it is nice to see that those plastic bags are not there anymore. But we see a lot of litter just like walking over to the market or something, and it is amazing how people just throw things out the window. So I don't think it's flying out from businesses and stuff. So I think like awareness would be good for that kind of thing. But I also would like to take this chance to thank the people that, I wish I knew the name of the group. I haven't been following, I haven't been volunteering, but the people that have done our trails, and I believe Karen Sleever and Mr. Schick, I met the other night, I think have been active, but they must have done a lot of cleanup, because we use those trails. And I did ask a small question the other night about, like when they started a few years ago, there was a lot. And they didn't take credit for that, but there has to be, because there's a lot now, and you can tell it's from time past. They've done a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. So I'm going to just throw a curveball to the production team and the organizers. We are going a little long, which is mostly my fault. So we are going to do one more full question, and then we're going to go to closing statements. You're not really missing much with the lightning round. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? So next up is community engagement. And Rosalind's going to remind me who answers this question first. So community engagement is crucial for the success of public health initiatives. And so the question is, how do you plan to actively involve residents in decision-making processes and solicit their input to address health priorities in Tewksbury? So I see Pam, you are first, and you actually referenced this in your opening. Maybe you can expound upon it. So how do you plan to actively involve residents in decision-making processes and solicit their input to address health priorities in town? 90
Well, I
seconds.
hate to be repetitive, but I'm going to go back to the fact that I have a lot of time. I am retired. I'm delighted to be able to serve if I can. And I believe that some things that can happen, although I heard some rumors that there are some rules that you'd have to be careful not to step on someone's toes or break the rules. But I would like to see open meetings at the library on a variety of times during a week, so that there's an opportunity for a lot of different residents to express their concerns. Possibly, we can have open times when we set up something and people didn't even know we were going to be there, so that they're not only locked into a single time when they might be able to express their concerns. And certainly, attending meetings isn't for everyone. But I think a big piece always is that education, where the public may not be aware even what's available to them. Some of the times that some of the years that we've lived here, we've run into some issues. And looking back on them, I think we may have been able to access some information and assistance from the health board, and we didn't. So.
Great. All right, thank you, Pam. So Chris, same question, and 90 seconds.
I feel that being available is important, having like a dedicated way to get in touch with somebody, whether it be having like a dedicated email, because the town is for all of us. It's not just for me, it's not just for my fellow board members, it's without the townspeople, we wouldn't be here. So this is just as much their town as our town, so I think that being available and having open communication is very important.
Great. So thank you, Chris. And Chris, as a heads up, since we started this question with Pam, you're going to give your closing statements first. Okay, just giving you the heads up now. Next up is George. George, same question, 90 seconds.
Myself too, I'm retired, even though I do ride for drive a van for the seniors, approximately 15 hours a week. I plan on being at the health fair next Thursday with the senior center. In the summer, the combination of the police and at the school, at the high school, usually has that in the kids rodeo for bicycles and stuff. So again, and I know one of the other candidates mentioned the fact that we don't have a budget. So the question is, again, you want to do 1,000 things. How do you spend the money? and where do you get the money? So again, I would ask all of us as a combined effort, those that are elected to lobby both the state, but more the town manager to get a full-time grant writer for what I call every other department other than the police, fire, and education. And be, like I said, be available. But again, I don't want to sound like I want any pressure not on me, but the thing is, that's why you have a department director, that's why you have a staff, that's why you have an online webpage, that's why you have that's why elections matter and you vote for a person that's the chair, to kind of like give them also the respect and what they're supposed to do in their part.
All right, thank you, George. So next up is Donna. Donna, 90 seconds, same question.
Okay, could you repeat the question?
Yes. So community
Sorry.
engagement, no, it's fine. So how do you plan to actively involve residents in the decision-making processes and solicit their input, their advice, to address health priorities in Tewksbury?
Okay, thank you. So I would like to volunteer and participate, besides being just a board member, if I had that opportunity. And I would step up to any programs that we could offer. As far as reaching the residents, I'm proud of the people that are active in Tewksbury and that do go out and vote and that have the foundation of the town. But we know there's thousands and thousands of people that aren't involved and that, you know, have this enormous trust, and they should, because it's a great town. We have services in place. I would just want to make sure that they knew they could pick up that phone and call. We do have a department, you can call any department, but even privately, like just word of mouth, if you thought you needed help, make sure people know, reach out to somebody, and they will get, and if it has to do with the Board of Health and you need those kind of services, and again, I agree with George that how are we going to find the money to give these services? And I think Tewksbury is a superstar, rock stars, and that if somebody were writing grants for almost anything here, there should be some gold stars, and this community should be getting money, any money that is available that could come to them if there was, you know, I'm not saying there hasn't been an effort to get it, but if there's more efforts that could be put in place. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Donna. And last but not least, wrapping us up, Luke, 90 seconds.
Thanks. I think that the best way we can encourage voters and residents to be involved in the Board of Health, besides, like suggested by current board members, increasing the availability of board time, possibly by increasing the number of meetings, is also by just making ourselves available through modern technology. We all board members have town email addresses, making those more front and center that you can get in touch with them at any time. Not just the Board of Health, but you can contact any board member. Bring your issues and be heard. I think also increasing the amount of communications and traffic between the board about upcoming agenda items and residents is important and will help bring people the knowledge they need to know to go to meetings when it's going to impact them. And I think that, like has been stated by a couple other candidates, not just in our race, but on other boards as well, that we need to make more communication between the board members of the town themselves, between the select board, school committee, Board of Health, so that if someone comes to me and that says, hey, I have this issue, I can then go and talk to a school committee member and say, hey, I have a resident who's talking about this. Do you know where they can go for that? You know, it might be health related, but it might also be school related in that way. So increasing that is important.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Luke. And now we're going to move on to closing statements. So everyone is going to have up to 2 minutes. You don't have to take the full 2 minutes. It's up to you. And we're going to start with Chris. So Chris, 2 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you. This was my first foray into politics, and I am looking forward to hopefully be serving on the board. I plan on being available to everyone in town. I don't want people to think, oh, she's not going to do anything. No, I want to be open. I've raised 2 kids. I'm used to being talked to. I work in customer service. I manage. I have a team that I manage. So I am, please, if you could vote for me, I would appreciate that, and I promise I will do my best to do well by the town. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Next up is George. George, you have up to 2 minutes.
Yeah, after tonight, I'm finding out Chris, or what to do with her job, obviously. She realizes that, like myself, it's not for the faint of heart. No matter what you do, somebody's not going to agree, like it, whatever. You got to do it for the right reasons, down in your soul, you want to make a difference. I'm the one that does have a record here. If you like my record, I hope you vote for me. If you don't like my record, then say why you don't like my record, and let's move forward together. It's a board of unanimity. If anything else, I love debate, discussion, seeing points of view different. But at the end of the day, most of the votes should go together because of such power. And I want to close on, other than elections matter, and not just, I mean, there's some, I mean, the school committee and the planning board, huge decision, folks. But I'll give you an example. If you see the news in Newton, not just the strike, but this is the first time in history that a Board of Health has stated anybody born after January 1st, 2000, cannot buy a tobacco product ever in that town. You're talking about, listen, that you can go to court, they're going to win. That's the power it has. So do you want to put businesses out by having too much regulation? Or, you know, I'm just going to leave it at that, because I ran one of the first times is because I think the state of Massachusetts, just check out businesses. Do you know any businesses? Not necessarily restaurants, but businesses that have gone to New Hampshire, that have gone to Maine, that have gone to Vermont. Why is that? Ask them. Because too much regulation. George Ferdinand is the candidate, was, is, and always will be the one that we need responsible, but we need less is more. Thank you for your attention, and all the best to our town. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And for the record, that was a question in the lightning round. I did have it on my sheet. I was going to ask you about nude, so missed opportunity.
I oppose it.
Okay, got it. I got that, yes. So Donna, two-minute closing statement. The floor is yours.
Okay, before I talk about myself, I just want to say about those regulations. Well, I'm not running against George technically, because I support him. He put his nomination papers in, and his name is there. And I'm running for the seat that has no candidate listed as a writing. Please vote Robitel. But as far as regulations, I mean, like, Massachusetts, we're already there. That conversation to me is, you know, we've already had it. We're like that. And we've traveled as all the national parks throughout the country and everything, and it's a beautiful country. But when we get back here, we do joke, go back to prison, but it's actually welcoming. And with the marijuana, that's what I want to say, with the new marijuana stores, which we are going to have in our town, 3 of them, they need to remain highly regulated. I'm proud to say that, you know, Mass made sure of that, and the communities have to follow it and do, and I'm extra proud of Tewksbury. And as far as myself, I hope I get this opportunity. If I do not get the chance to serve in town government, I promise I want to volunteer and do something. I do have a history of volunteering when I was able to do so, and then I was on the Tewksbury Youth Center Board of Directors for 4 years. I was on a committee called the Atelier Committee, where I think we were the first committee to look if Tewksbury should be a city or not, so that's a subject for different boards and different days. But I've always enjoyed the variety of things, but especially serving as a town official. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
So Luke, you're up next. 2-minute closing statement. The floor is yours.
Thank you again to our moderator, Robert Hayes. Thank you to the Tewksbury Town Crier and the Tewksbury Carnation for sponsoring this event. Thank you for Tewksbury Telemedia again for working late and for making sure all our residents have access to such an event. Growing up in town, I know how much the people of Tewksbury care. It's a testament to our strength of character, how much the residents of our town will do for one another. I have seen time and time again when we lose a member of our community to tragedy, or when a family's home catches fire, Tewksbury residents step up. If elected, I hope to continue and honor that legacy. Since the pandemic, we have been focused on survival. For a while, that was important and necessary. With the 4-year anniversary of the pandemic earlier this month, We can now be proactive and make an impact in new areas. And in areas where we are already successful, Tewksbury can lead. We have members of our community who are struggling with essential needs like food insecurity and housing. The data is clear. We can help these members of our community, and the best time to start is now. I promise to work for the health and safety of all of our residents, even the ones I'm related to. If anyone would like to get in touch with me, feel free to message me through my campaign Facebook page or ask for my email. I'm happy to give it out. I will be sticking around for the Select Board Candidate Forum if anyone would like to chat or ask questions here after. Finally, thank you to my fellow candidates. Good luck to you all. We all know that we all deeply care about Tewksbury and will do the best for our town. Thank you, and I hope to get your vote on April 6th.
Great, thank you so much, Luke. And Pam, you're going to wrap us up to a 2-minute closing statement. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm just going to quickly say that one of the reasons that I'm running is I really do want to serve. I believe that's why people should run for public office. I believe that I possess the interpersonal skills to work with a variety of audiences, whether they're young or old. And I think I'm a good listener. I will focus on what people have to say and the input. There's one small thing that I think could help with the information that gets out to the public here. And that is, I noticed when I was looking for the Board of Health website, what comes off of the town site, and I don't know who monitors that, who's the webmaster. It could be brought up to date some. It's not as easy to access some of the information that could be there, and it is now still having the banner on the side that tells you the COVID restrictions. So although those are still important in some ways, I don't really think it's the first thing people are going to access. So I think there are better ways that that page can be used. I'm glad that we do have dedicated emails, and I would be happy to share with any residents my personal cell phone, because I think it's really important to have that one-on-one communication.
Great, thank you, Pam. So I want to thank everyone for participating in tonight's forum. I'd like to thank the candidates, Chris Janicek, George Ferdinand, Pam Lefebvre, Luke Miller, and Donna Robitaille for sharing their thoughts and ideas and for stepping up to participate in our town. As a reminder to residents, please remember to vote on Saturday, April 6th. Polls are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you have any questions about voting, precinct locations, please contact the town clerk's office. I'm Robert Hayes, and on behalf of the Tewksbury Town Crier, the Tewksbury Carnation, and our wonderful timekeeper, Rosalind Impink, I want to thank those for watching live, and we'll be starting the Select Board debate after a short break. Good night.